You're watching a classic episode of Bass Pro Shops Outdoor World Television.
Lake Fork, a 28,000-acre impoundment on the Sabine River drainage, is Texas's premier bass lake. In fact, it may be the best big bass lake in America. Completed in 1980, the fertile waters sprawl through the hills about 80 miles east of Dallas. Thanks to heavy stockings of Florida strain largemouths, Fork holds the current state record, 18.18 pounds, and has produced 34 fish among the top 50 ever caught in Texas waters. All of these fish went 15 pounds and more. And the average size of bass here is equally impressive. In addition to the monsters, there are thousands of 3 to 5 pounders, a lure that draws anglers from around the world. One of them is famed bass fisherman Kevin VanDam. Kevin made a stop at the Dallas Outdoor World store to take a look at a few bass that grew up in Lake Fork before heading out to the boat ramp.
Hey, we're at the Dallas Bass Pro Shops this morning, and I'm real lucky because I got here just before they got to feed the fish, and they're going to let me feed some of these bass. And watch this. Wow, look at the size of that fish.
Looks like we might want to make a stop at the pet store and pick up a few dozen goldfish on the way to the lake, Kevin. One of the reasons Lake Fork is so productive is the endless quality habitat found all over the lake. From stump flats to weed beds to deep creeks to offshore bars, Fork has it all.
A lot of bait fish activity on the surface too. All these gnats in the air. Get those shad active, eating gnats and the bass eating the shad. Looks like a good morning for spinnerbaits.
Spinnerbaits do a good job in the stump fields of Lake Fork, offering high-speed coverage and nearly snag-free presentations.
There's one big fish. Oh, man. He just ate that spinnerbait.
Oh, Kevin, there's one with an attitude.
That's a good bass. Always try to capitalize on that early morning bite when you can, you know. I mean, high pressure, there's not a cloud coming, but as long as that water temperature is warm, you know, from once it gets to 60 degrees in the spring until it drops below that in the fall, I'm always going to spend that first hour or two until the sun gets up fishing something faster where hopefully you can get into a quality fish like that. Got it. Nice one. Oh, he just hammered it. I just hit him on the flutter and oh yeah, good solid bass. A little skinnier back here. They're feeding up though for fall and winter here with all those shad. Right on a perfect laydown. I'm using this new bleeding bait, Strike King Premier Elite spinnerbait, and it's pretty. It's got a red hook to it, and it's got kind of a smoky shad skirt with some red in it, with red eyes, red beads on it. Very much all the cues that a bass is looking for.
Today's gear includes Quantum Tour Edition rods, Quantum Energy and Kinetic reels, Strike King Premier Elite spinnerbaits and 3X grubs, 20-pound XPS mono, and 10-pound XPS fluorocarbon.
There he is. Oh, he got me in the brush. That's why you gotta have a big line for that. It's a pretty one.
Stump fields are not the only productive habitat here. Kevin quickly finds a totally different type of terrain that's just as full of fish.
What I'm fishing here is a kind of a classic spot that you'd want to look for late in the fall like this, or you know, really any time the fish are going to be moving in and out of these creeks. I'm right at the mouth of a main creek on a main lake point, and the actual creek channel swings right here. This tree that's right on the other side of me is in the creek channel itself, And then the point comes out right in front of me. It's 35 foot deep right there, and it's 20 foot right here, right up on top. And it just kind of gradually tapers up, and the creek just kind of bends around and goes in right here. And these fish are just kind of sitting here on these main lake points like this, waiting for schools of shad and barfish to move up and get close enough to them where they can feed on them. There it is. Wow, did you see that jump? That sucker got 4 foot of air. Oh. He's been eating some barfish. He's got some shoulders on him. He thumped it too. That's a Lake Fork beauty there. You got to sort through a few of those smaller pound to 2 pounders, and every now and then one of those big dudes like that just gets on it. Awesome fish. Just kind of swimming that grub down there, and I like to snap it a lot, especially when it gets bright like this. Let's let that fish go. You know, grubs are something that you can fish a lot of different ways. You know, a lot of times I just kind of drag it along down there. You know, other times you'll just kind of hop it up and down slowly. Other times I'm ripping it, kind of like what I was doing on that fish there. The key with them is just to experiment until you get a bite. But let the bass tell you what they want on that given day. Oh, he swallowed that grub. Chunker. Look at that, he's got a broke tail even. See all kinds of things here on Lake Fork.
One of the reasons the fishery has remained so good at Fork is a regulation that requires bass between 16 and 22 inches to be returned to the water, with the exception of 1 trophy fish daily. It's the kind of fishing that keeps a guy on the water all day long, and Kevin can't resist a sundown return to that stump field for one more spinnerbait session.
There he is. Just like that. There's a big one too. This light getting low, they're starting to feed. All you got to do is get it in front of one. Good fish. There's so many quality bass in this lake. Well, right now you can see I'm in a big timber flat, and what I'm trying to concentrate on is these little bit bigger trees, and then anything that's horizontal. You can see there's some logs that are laying down out here in front of me, and I try to wait if I can until I get a good angle on it. There's a good lay down right there, so I can run that spinnerbait right down it. And they're chasing shad in here, so what I'm trying to do is just kind of give it a good jerk or a flutter like that right as it comes along that log and try to make them react to it. They're not just wide open, just tearing it up. You kind of got to make them bite. You know, you get it up there and bang it into the log and give it a little jerk like that, and it makes the blades flutter, and the bait hitting that log makes some noise, and that's when they like to eat it. That's a good one. That's a good one too. He ate that spinnerbait. That's one of the great things I love about Lake Fork. Is not only do you have the deep bite, but you can always find some fish shallow too, especially even on these high pressure days like this, early in the morning, late in the evening. I've been to lots of places, but still Lake Fork is my #1 lake for numbers of quality fish. There's so many 5-pounders in this lake.
One of the best places to stay at Lake Fork is the Mustang Resort near the town of Alba.